What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is gonna be a recap video of the Tunnel Vision Marathon, and we're gonna go through the top 10 questions I've been getting on social media. I felt really good going into this race. There's always a little bit of doubt that we have as humans and when you're entering a new challenge or a big event like this, especially because training in Austin has been very difficult, and then I just knew that going into a new climate was gonna really help me. But I was really confident in my training and all the work that I did prior to going into this marathon. Previously, I've always dealt with like some form of injuries or just like my body wasn't 100% going into a race. So this was one of the first times where my body and mind just was really fresh. So I was really confident going into this marathon. Yes, the overall race went really well. I went into this race trying to get a sub 3-hour marathon to qualify for the Boston Marathon. My final time ended up being 2 hours, 57 minutes, and 24 seconds. So overall, it was a very successful race. I was really happy about just executing the plan that I had with my coach. And obviously the 20 weeks prior of training that just built up to this one day of like going out and running fast. So overall, I'm super happy with my time. I think there was moments in the race where I could have executed and maybe stick to the plan a little bit better. But anytime you're going into an event, a big race, a big challenge, like it's like life. Like you never know what's gonna happen that day. Like you might feel really good, you might have a hiccup here and there, but overall, like you're gonna fight through that adversity. And the goal is that even when something gets thrown at you, good or bad, you kind of deal with it and kind of move on. And that's kind of how I felt during this race. I had everything prior, all the training had been done. Showing up that day was more about just execution and obviously sticking to the plan as best as possible from an actual tactical standpoint as well as from a nutrition standpoint. But overall, I can't be upset. Like we went into this goal of having a sub 3-hour marathon and we ended up hitting that as well. And from 2 years prior of hitting a 3-hour 55-minute marathon for my first race, this was it was a good cherry on top of just like hitting a goal that I was trying to work for. I think it's a little bit different for everyone. Some of my buddies that raced this exact race that also got sub 3 got there on Saturday, just the day before. Personally for me, I always enjoy making small trips out of these races or events that I go to anyways. So I always enjoy getting somewhere a little bit earlier. One, it definitely does help you get acclimated with the time change as well as the weather change. The air quality is a little bit different and it's honestly a lot better in Washington compared to Austin, Texas. So just breathing out there, like I just felt it the first day when I landed, I'm like, yo, it's like, it was a little cooler. Like it's just naturally 65 in the morning, 55s, super early morning, but lunchtime is still pretty cool compared to Texas. So personally, I just enjoy getting to any location a little bit earlier, but I don't think that it's not the deal breaker for hitting a really good race time or to just have a good challenge or that sense. The weather was a critical difference. When you're running at 55 degrees in the morning compared to running at 78 degrees in Austin where it's super humidity, it's so much easier to breathe and just you're not sweating as much. When I'm in Austin, like I'll sweat within the first mile and a half just because naturally, no matter if the sun is out or not, like it's humid and it's hot and it's harder to breathe in the temperature here in Texas. So honestly, being in Seattle, it was what's that saying? It
was a breath of fresh air.
There it is. Being in Seattle is a breath of fresh air. Like just naturally just breathing in the ocean water from the Pacific, and it was so much easier to just do activities, let alone to go run a full marathon. So obviously in Austin at 5:30 in the morning, it's still 78 degrees in the summer. Being in Seattle at 5:30 in the morning, it's 50 degrees. So naturally, when the race started at 7, it was about 55. I didn't even sweat, I don't think, for the first 10 miles. I was barely sweating. And I was kind of shocked because I'm so used to being drenched in sweat literally from toe to head. So it was very refreshing, and the weather played a pivotal role throughout the race with how I felt. In addition to just being able to breathe better. Like I didn't really feel like I was in like an uncomfortable environment until like the latter half of the race, like mile 20 and on. So the weather played a big role. The Tunnel Vision course is actually an old railroad. So this path that you're going down is actually a 2,000 feet net decline. It's a 2% grade decline. So what that means is over the course of 26 miles, if you're starting at 3,000 feet, you're gonna end around 1,000 feet of elevation, right? So you're slightly going downhill. It's not like a drastic decline, but just that subtle 2% grade, it gives you as a runner a little bit of an advantage because you're obviously running downhill, and just how gravity works, as you have a decline, you will naturally be able to move a little bit faster. The course is paved gravel, so it's very similar. If you live in Austin, Texas, it's very similar to the gravel that is surrounding Town Lake. So it's not concrete, but it's like these little rocks that form the gravel. But the good thing about gravel is that it's a lot less harsh on your knees. So concrete, there's a lot of more poundage that happens from your foot all the way up through the kinetic chain. But when you're on the gravel, it's a little bit more soft. So it's less harsh on the knees, on your feet. It makes it a little bit more enjoyable. The hard thing about gravel is that anytime you're trying to really pick speed up, it's harder to like gain that traction from the actual midsole of the foot of the shoe. So that's the only negative. But because you have the downhill grade, it kind of eliminates that gravel feeling of like trying to really run fast. So the nuances of both of them really helped in this race, and the tunnel vision I highly recommend if you want to hit a sub 3 hour marathon. This is a great course to run. So my nutrition before the race, I am a big fan of running fasted through my marathon training. I normally never eat anything big, especially before long runs, because I like to make the training a little bit harder when you go on race day. But on race day, I do typically eat a breakfast because I want to have enough nutrition to fuel the run, and just to make sure that I have enough nutrition, electrolytes, and fuel in my system to go execute a fast race. So before the race, I had 2 Uncrustable peanut butter jelly sandwiches, which are the OG legendary snack that I like to eat pre-race. In addition to a banana, a Cliff Bar, and electrolytes. And I also drink a coconut water pre-race. And these are all things that help support the carbohydrates, sodium, as well as electrolytes to then fuel the first half of the race. And then kind of transitioning for during the race. I also like drinking coffee pre-race so I can take my pre-run dump, just because it flushes out my system and I don't want to have to deal with that during the run. So coffee is always a must. During the race, I typically fuel on gels, and gels are just a form of quick energy. They're quick sodium and electrolytes. Some of them will also have caffeine in it. The one I used for this race were the Huma gel packs, and these are basically 100 calories each, and I consume them right around every 30 minutes. And the purpose and the goal of consuming it every 30 minutes is that as your body is burning calories and it's burning fuel, you need something that is very quick absorbing into the system so you can digest and just give yourself a little bit of fuel and nutrition to then continue the run. Each of these gel packs have about 100 calories, so you're typically burning anywhere between 150 to 300 calories every 30 minutes. So the every 30-minute rule is a good rule of thumb of just, hey, getting quick nutrition in and obviously supporting your system as you're on this run. I don't typically run with any water bottles or any hydration packs. I just consume the water and Gatorade or whatever electrolyte drink that the race supports or has during the aid stations. And every marathon is similar. They'll have these water and hydration stations every 2 to 3 miles. So you'll always have something to consume. Some people just also like to have extra hydration, but personally, I just don't because I like to hold my phone. I love this question. So how I record my content on my run is I hold my phone first. Like, it's annoying. Instead of holding a water bottle, I'm literally holding my phone. And part of it is that as a creator, I want to document my journey when I'm doing these races or challenges, just to show my audience, but also just for me to have for future records or just to look back on in that sense. But I hold my phone. As soon as my watch gives me my miles split, I'll literally just turn the phone around, hit the record button, and just say mile 1, 6:45. And I'll continue to do that as I'm running through these miles. And as soon as I get the update on my watch, I'll just turn my phone around, I'll click the record button, and then spit out whatever my mile split was for that mile. So it's very easy to do. The most annoying aspect of it is actually holding your phone. Obviously, as you get longer into the race, your arms start to get fatigued, as well as the mental and physical fatigue that your body is going through. So for me, obviously this is a priority to record content, but for many other runners out there, like, your only focus might just to be to run. And I respect that and I have empathy for that. So this is not gonna be for everyone, but this is just kind of talking about how I personally record content. I also like to record with the back camera of the phone, not the front facing camera, just because it's a better video shot using the back camera. So that's also just a pro tip. If you are gonna record yourself, I highly recommend using the back camera of your phone versus the front camera? Honestly, I think I could have. I would be lying to say that if I focused solely on just the running that, you know, maybe I hit a better time anywhere between 30 or 60 seconds. But, you know, that 60 seconds, like those little quick moments are one, very fun to capture. And I wouldn't trade it for the world though. Like I don't really care about the 30 to 60 seconds I could have gained. Just because I want to document my journey, and if I can just bring people along with me and also capture moments of other people and other runners while I'm capturing my moment, it's always fun because, you know, you get to look back at these moments and just, hey, you look back and be like, damn, in that moment I hit a sub 3 hour marathon. It's always fun to look back at old memories to see achievements that you've accomplished. My average per pace was right around 640. Early on in the race, my goal was to kind of stay at the 645, 650 realm, but in between, I had a couple miles in the middle of the race that I was kind of picking up the pace because the decline was pretty steady. We were running 625 to 630 pace miles, so it kind of dropped my mile time down a little bit to 640. The biggest hiccup I had was I had to take a shit after mile 11. And that was just unfortunate, and I obviously talked about drinking coffee and flushing out your system, but sometimes when you've carb loaded a lot prior to the race, like, you know, sometimes you have bowel systems that need to get flushed out. So at mile 11, there's a little bathroom right on this trail that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stop at. It was unfortunate because the two buddies I was running with, we had a really steady pace. We were all kind of packed together, and I was a little bit worried. I'm like, damn, like now I need to kind of catch up to them after I went to the bathroom. The bathroom break really only took about 30 seconds, so it was obviously unfortunate, but that was like the only time I really stopped during the race. Other than that, I had very few hiccups, you know, as we got into the further, you know, miles 20 through 26. And that's actually a really good sign because a lot of times people hit the wall right around the 18 to 23 mark. But fortunately, I feel like I hydrated and fueled up properly, so I didn't have any cramps in my legs. So besides taking a dump at mile 11, the race was executed pretty well. So that's a great question. So how I got faster was, obviously during training, you're building up your base to then go execute a race. And the goal of training is that you've created an environment where hopefully it's tougher in training, so that when you go into this race that you feel confident and ready to go execute the game plan. So basically my coach wanted me to run 645 to 650 for the first 20 miles. And I honestly was a little bit fast in between some of those miles because I was trying to catch up. But I still felt like I had some juice left in the tank for the last 6 miles. And if you talk to some distance runners or marathon runners in general, a lot of them will tell you that the race doesn't really start until you get to mile 20. And that sounds really ridiculous and crazy for a lot of people because 20 miles is an awesome feat. I mean, it's a very far distance to even attain. So the point of having juice left for the last 6 is that you don't want to bonk out the last 6 miles because that's really where the race starts. You want to make sure that you have enough energy and that you've trained enough and that you've fueled your body enough to go run the last 6 miles at a faster pace. So that is kind of how I was able to do it. Obviously, this course helped me a ton because as you're running downhill, you can save and conserve your energy a little bit better versus if you have a marathon that you're running a lot of hills and you're having to expend a lot more energy. So this course definitely helped with having a faster split towards the end of the race. But I would say for anyone out there that's watching this video, like if you are in training, the goal is that your training should support and aid the race day effort. And if you've done enough in training, hopefully you can execute a proper game plan for race day and go potentially run a faster last 6 miles than you did the previous 20. So the Tunnel Vision Marathon, final time, 2 hours, 57 minutes and 24 seconds. It's quite amazing to see just my running journey and just the past 2 years of when I ran my first marathon on my birthday, my 26th birthday, which was February 20th of 2021. That was the first marathon I ever ran and I did 3 hours and 55 minutes. So the thought of even shaving off a full hour almost of my marathon time in the past year and a half, 2 years, it's just an amazing journey that I've been on. And I think for anyone that's watching this or hearing this, like I hope that it helps inspire you or motivate you to start your journey. And it doesn't have to be a marathon, but even just stepping out of your comfort zone can take you a lot of places, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, business-wise, whatever it might be. If you feel like you're in a rut or you're trying to start that new hobby or that new passion project, whatever it might be, I would say the best thing you can do is just to start. And in that process of starting and by doing, you're gonna start to learn more about yourself and how to actually better approach that challenge. And through that process, there's a ton of growth that happens. And it's just amazing to see. Obviously this hour time that I shaved off is amazing, but even more so, the past year and a half, 2 years of actually going through the journey of training and having bad days and good days of training, and obviously how it's affected my personal life and business life. It's just quite amazing where running has kind of taken me. So I just challenge anyone out there, if you're watching this video, like, go figure out what is uncomfortable for you and go tackle that. And just kind of go on that journey. And like, obviously you'll have good and bad days, but I think that there's beauty in that. So if you're watching this, go step out of your comfort zone, go do something tough, go do something that's completely out of your norm, and just see what kind of growth you go through. But I appreciate all you guys watching this video. If you got any value out of it or have just enjoyed watching my journey, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're pushing out a ton of good running content and as much value content as I can for the audience. So if you guys have any good video ideas, make sure you drop them in the comments. But until next time, I will see you guys in the next one. Deuces.